Okay, thanks you guys for coming on the show tonight. This is Jerry at Tradition for Peace talk show on People for People Radio. Thanks to Gauze for all the work that you do, and Vanessa for helping out with the questions. So if you have any questions online in the chat room, just put them in for Vanessa in capitals and she'll send them on over to me. And thanks everyone in the chat room too for coming on and being part of the show. So I'll do a little weather report. I thought I'd do a little weather modification report here from sunny California today. We've had a couple of days, like after I was bragging about those beautiful puffy clouds last time, I should have kept my mouth shut, but I'm going to tell what's happening. We have had about 2 or 3 days of solid, heavy spraying here, the chemtrails, and my skin has been going nuts. And today, this is what they like. They clear the weather out. They suck out all the moisture. This is what I think what they're doing is on the West Coast. They are taking the moisture out of the air, and then they make it into that soupy sort of cloud cover, and then they use that HARP situation to bring it all over to east of us, where it comes down usually as a deluge somewhere east of us. You know, I think it really does help. The prayers help, and the ceremonies that I've talked about before really do help. We put some orgonite around, and that seemed to have helped. It really, we got some snow, which was amazing, enough to bring this stream up that usually runs every year for about 6 months. The last 7 or 8 years, it's been down, only running like 1 year. About 4 years ago, it ran for about 3 weeks, and this year it's up. It looks pretty good. But there was a group around here that was going to be wanted to work against chemtrails in Ashland, Oregon, and they called it Blue Skies or something for Oregon Blue Skies, and they asked me if I'd be a part of it, and I said no, because I told them I believe that they're using neuro-linguistic programming on us too. So somebody must have infiltrated that group and got them to name it, I think it was Save Our Blue Skies or something. I go, that's what they want. They want us to have just blue skies all the time here with no rain clouds, nothing that's going to give us any moisture. So I told them, because they knew I was real active in, informing people for years. It's been 20 years now I've been watching the sky. and they wanted me to be a part of their group. And I said, you guys change the name of your group to Bring Back the Natural Skies or something like that, and I'll come, but I am not even going to come to your demonstrations. If you're going to be calling it, blue sky, Bring Back Our Blue Skies, or, Save Our Blue Skies. So, because, excuse me, I just feel like they are working on so many levels that we have to be so, so careful about our words and the things that we say and how we say what we want to say. We need to be really impeccable. If you check out that book by Don Luis, oh God, what's his last name? Anyway, The Four Agreements, he talks about impeccability of our word. And so it's a really good practice to be constantly checking our words and checking how we're saying things. And so a lot of things that I hear people saying is stuff like, oh, look what humans did, and we're so evil, and we totally trashed out our planet, or we did this and we did that. Well, okay, we were the pawns that did this stuff probably, but we didn't think of all this stuff, and we have to keep that in perspective. That these are not natural men and women and children, people who are engaged with life. We don't think about things like, oh, let's go up and like clear cut, Northern California. You should see these clear cuts that they do here. It's disgusting. I don't even believe it's about money anymore. They have these areas. We knew they were going to cut this one area where we used to go get wood. And let me turn that phone off. Sorry. So what they do is they come up and they clear cut stuff, and then they leave these piles of slash, which they call slash, but they are like huge trees in these slash piles. Like the slash piles are like 4 stories high. And I am not kidding here. This is the truth. It's 4 stories high, like in a building, right? 3 to 4 stories high. I mean, my husband would have to climb up there with chains, and we had our friend's big truck, and we would pull these logs off of these huge, huge piles of what they call slash, which are actually really healthy, huge trees. I mean, they take out the biggest ones, to take out and mill and stuff, but it's just disgusting. And then, you know what they do? They take these huge bulldozers, these cats that have like the buckets that are just huge. They're like as wide as my kitchen or wide. No, it's about that wide. And they berm around the area so nobody can get in there and take the wood for firewood, which is what we normally do. We go around and follow where the logging has been, and we get permits and go and get firewood from the slash piles. Well, now they've been, bulldozing so nobody could drive in there. And then they freaking set them on fire in the fall after it rains. It starts raining. They have these huge fires, and they just like burn these freaking, what they call slash piles. But they are not slash piles. It's like, man, these people are psychopaths. So we really have to, let's start really thinking of the things that we're doing that are good and that are positive. Well, not positive, but I have this thing about positive and negative. I think that there's nothing bad about positive and negative. Those are polarities that are important for life, right? If we didn't have positive and negative in the polarity system, we would die. So what I like to say is these are not life-affirming activities. And so I am not going to take on what we have been programmed to be saying about ourselves, is that we're so evil and we're just so short-sighted. Well, I'm sure if people in their right mind, would really make a decision about what to do with these, the forests, because it's just every year it just driving from here to Ashland, Oregon, it's all forested. And every year it's just more and more big, huge patches of where they just go like with a razor or something and just shave off, clear cut sections of the forest. And someday I'll probably do a show on just what happened with the fires here, because I have a lot of information about that, but I'm not going to cover that today. So that's like detoxifying our minds, right? And that's the first step. So, because what we're going to talk about today is detoxifying, because we're in the springtime. And remember, with Chinese medicine, springtime is a really good time to detox. So we'll just think about detoxing our minds and making clear our words, right? So that's step number one, because our words are so important in our thoughts, because every single thing that happens starts with a thought. So I just like to really work with people in my clinic even of clearing their thoughts up about their health and about their activities and what they're able to do. So if somebody's really sick and feels like they can't do much, I have them think about, like, what are you going to do with your time once you start feeling better? You know, because sometimes people are so sick and they're so used to being incapacitated from just being so toxic and sick that they can't even imagine what life would be like without that. So one of my Chinese teachers, he used to talk to us about, you know, people's stories. And so at the very beginning of when you're working with someone is to sort of fish around and see if they're willing to change their story. Because if they're not willing to do that, there's probably not a lot you can do with them. So I'm just assuming that people who listen to this show are wanting to make a change. And if you do have a lot of stuff going on, health issues, so number one would be, you know, sit down and make a list of things you want to do with your life and your energy, how you want your energy level to be, what kinds of activities you want to be able to do, you know, go on vacations or whatever, go to the beach, or just start to entertain and to give your mind and your body something to strive for that's life affirming, that is healthy. Okay, so you want to start putting those images around you with your thoughts first, and then if you want to do stuff like put images on your walls of the beach, or, you know, if you always wanted to go to Spain or whatever, you know, it is, you want to spend more time with your grandkids, that kind of thing. You want to start feeding your psyche those images of you in a healthy state, right? So, yeah, so, and then we're going to move on to detoxing your home. And this is so, so important. In China, in ancient China, the doctors wouldn't even, like, acupuncture and herbs were way down on the list of tools that they would use. So the very first thing that would happen if somebody needed some help was that the doctor would go to the person's house and check out the feng shui, which you probably heard about that. It's just the art of placement of things. So I'm not going to talk too much about that today, but basically this is all about feng shui, detoxing your home. But I can do a show sometime just on feng shui if you wanted to. I have a friend I could actually interview who's really good. So looking at the home is like really bottom line. And if I'm treating someone and they're not getting better, I will always try to get them to let me come over and do a treatment on their house by looking at what's going on there. So I'm just going to start with some like really bad scenarios of friends of mine. I've had two of my best friends died a couple years ago of cancer, 4 months apart from each other. And it was really hard. And so the main thing that neither of them really took seriously was the EMF stuff. And I have another patient right now who's got cancer, and her husband's having heart disease or heart problems. But gosh, I walked into their houses, all three of those people, and other people too. It just happens all the time where I walk in and it's just like walking through pools of electricity. And so that's kind of number one, what I work on with people. If they're not willing to deal with that, then I kind of pull back, because I can sort of keep putting Band-Aids on people. But that's like such a huge issue that I've had just such heart-wrenching experiences with it that it's just hard for me to keep going seriously with people if they're not going to change the EMF situation in their house. Because like most people, like, okay, just a typical example is I go in and, say there's two people living there. Both of them have their smartphones on. People have Wi-Fi laptops, so say there's two of them. They got two Wi-Fi laptops on. One of them had a Kindle that was on, and their streaming TV, big huge TV on, and those things that, what are they? They're like the weather little gadgets that people have on their walls near the front door where they can, the barometric pressure and the temperature outside and inside and stuff. Well, that's all Wi-Fi too on. So that's just the Wi-Fi aspect of it, and so that's just so huge. It's so huge, and so I really encourage you guys to just, shut stuff off, get rid of stuff that you don't absolutely need, and turn it off. I unplug. We're wired here, and I just have a laptop, and we don't have smartphones, but I unplug them too when when I'm not using it. Just because, it's springtime here. I haven't seen many bees. I'm kind of bummed out about that. In fact, I don't think I've seen any bees so far. It's March, middle of March already. So hopefully they just got real cold and are still hibernating. I'm going to call my friend. She's a beekeeper, see how her bees are doing. But so they are very, very sensitive to the Wi-Fi radiation. My friend, the same one who is a beekeeper, she one time she had gotten a smartphone, and her bees swarmed twice, like shortly after she got them, within a month or two. And I asked her, I said, "Did you get a smartphone?" She goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, do you carry it on your body when you go out to see the bees?" And she said, "Yeah." And I go, "Well, maybe you ought to try not doing that." And she goes, "Oh, Jerry, don't be so, that's too much. That's going too far." I'm like, "Well, it's not me. It's the bees." You can imagine they're such vibratory little creatures. And so then one day she called me up and said, "Hey, Jerry, can you come and meet me? Somebody's bees swarmed and they called me to come get them." So I went down to where she was, and she was talking to the people in their yard. You could see the swarm in the tree, and she was all dressed up in her bee stuff, and she had her smartphone in the back pocket. And I go, "You should take that out of your pocket." And she's like, "Oh, it's okay," and she's talking to the people and blah blah blah. And a few minutes later, she goes, "Okay." So we were standing there for like 10 minutes or something and talking, and then she says, "Okay." So she walks up to the swarm of bees in the tree. And they just immediately spiraled. They let go of the tree branch and they spiraled together and they just flew off. It was so clear. And I didn't say anything, but I wanted to. Anyway, so just so important. Get rid of that stuff. You don't need it. Turn your phone off, or airplane mode. If you're in a car too, because the cars inside of a car or a bus or a subway or somewhere where there's not strong connection, it's going to put out more radiation trying to catch the signal. So you want to turn it off in that time. You could just check your messages later, And then also talking on the phone up to your ear in a car or a subway or the bus or something. You're in a metal box, and the EMFs have to work the phones have to work really hard to get the signal through that car, the metal box that you're in. And so it's just really, really dangerous for your brain. And especially kids. Like, kids should not have cell phones. I mean, just be the bitch or the mean guy, right? And freaking take them away. Just tell them, "No, I'm the parent. You can do what you want." That's what I did with my son when he was little. I'm like, "I'm the parent. You can do what you want with your kid when you're, when you're a parent." And, they'll get over it. Send them to me. I used to have my son go out and chop wood. I've heard of people whose, their kids lose their cell phone and they like go berserk. They're like addicted big time to them and they like get violent. So it's a real serious issue, and that's part of detoxing your home is detoxing your relationship with the freaking EMFs and the Wi-Fi situation. So that's part of the gadget talk that I was going to do. And then, so obviously then there's the microwave ovens. Okay. Get rid of those. I have one in my office because sometimes I heat up heat packs with them, but I have it always unplugged and it's in the very back room where nobody hardly ever goes, but it's always unplugged. I only plug it in when I'm going to use it. And then you stand back a bunch because if you have an EMF reader, which everybody should have, you just, I got a tri-field one, I think it's called. If you go to electricsense.com, the guy's name is Lloyd Burrell, and he has a really good site. He's got a lot of information on EMF, the meters and the different ones and what's best kind for you to use. And if you go into the chats around the articles, there's a lot of good questions and stuff. So yeah, get yourself, or maybe, a few people can get together. They are kind of spendy. They're about right around $200 for one. But, you could get together with a few people and chip in and buy one together. It's just so really, really helpful to have one of those. I walked through my house and found spots that I had no idea. And one of the things that's really, really hot, well, the microwave ovens, they emit a ton of EMFs, even if they're not turned on. If they're just plugged in, sitting there, they are still radioactive, just like that. So if you do use one or have one in your house, you shouldn't because it denatures your food. I heard that it unravels the DNA in the food. So I don't think you really want to be eating that kind of food. But, if you need it for whatever, just unplug it when you're not using it, okay, and stand back. I brought my EMF meter to my son's house and showed him, and he was shocked. And they had all their vitamins on top of their, microwave. It's like, oh, my God. Anyhow, so, yeah, that thing, just get rid of it. There was something else. Oh, yeah, those kind of lamps that you just touch to turn on, get rid of those too because they are very hot EMF emitters. So electric clocks and stuff, radio clocks next to your bed, get rid of it or put it in, the next room or the hallway or something if you need it. Because the EMFs, they affect you more when you're asleep. So just be careful of what's in your bedroom or if you sleep on a couch or something, regularly. Some, people like to fall asleep on their couch. So get yourself one of those meters and check out all of your outlets because some of them can be leaky. I had an episode of not being able to sleep for years. And then finally I got an EMF reader and the outlet that was behind my bed, right where my head is, where I normally sleep, was really, really leaky, and there was nothing even plugged into it. So we just took it apart, I don't know, he dismantled it and grounded it or something, so now we just don't use it. But that kind of thing is really important to catch, right? Because those things are just really toxic. You don't want to be around a lot of electricity. Another issue around grounding pads, like a lot of people are into that earthing thing. So if you're doing stuff like that, you want to make sure that everything is grounded. And I think on Lloyd Burrell's site, I don't really understand how to do that, but he's got stuff about that. I don't use that grounding thing. But and the other thing that he talked about once was the ground where you live or where you hang out a lot. You want to get your meter and walk around your yard because sometimes electricians or the city workers or whatever, they're changing lines out and they just leave live wires in the ground. And that's one thing is really dangerous, but you could be like having your hangout spot, right on top of a place that has a lot of dirty electricity coming out. So you want to be sure to check those spots if you're, you got a yard or even in a park or something where you like to hang out. Bring your meter there and check out the area. Check out the kids area where the kids play. I mean, get paranoid about it, but we kind of have to at this point. And just as long as we're, making sure that we're not thinking about it too much and relaxing our minds and not freaking out over everything. But it's good to know, so then you don't have to worry. You just can deal with the situation and then you're covered. So we'll drink my filtered water. So another thing in the house that you want to look at is cookware. So, you probably all know about the, what is that, Teflon, those plastic coated dishes, cookware that peels. I just can't believe that people think it's okay to cook in that stuff, but don't, just throw it out. My favorite cookware, I like cast iron. And if you take care of it properly, it's going to last forever. Just make sure you wash it every time you use it. And then you coat it with some oil and, not canola oil, right? You're going to use lard is really good, bacon dripping, something like that. That's, just a tiny little bit when you wash it. Sometimes I'll use a little bit of soap. It depends, or just the soapy water. I never put soap right on there. But it's okay if you use a tiny bit, some people say never use soap, but I do sometimes. And you want to dry it off really good. And so in the wintertime, we just put them on the wood stove to dry them off, and it gets it nice and hot, right? And then when you put that oil on there, it kind of slides around real good, and then it sets. So you're getting a little coat on there, and that will protect your cast iron pans because you don't want them getting rusty. That rust is not good for you, right? So just take care of it and it'll last forever. And those things, you don't want to use cast iron for anything acidic, like making spaghetti sauce or, stuff like that, or anything too watery. So cast iron is best for frying foods like potatoes, making fried potatoes or a stir fry. If you are going to put some liquid in it, just put it in at the end and then take it right out of there. Because you don't want that liquid to be absorbing or somehow, oxidizing in that pan, the cast iron pan. So that's what I do. If I'm making a stir fry and I want to make a little sauce, I'll just, make the stir fry dry and then add the sauce and then take it out of there right away. So they're really good for the fried potatoes, fried vegetables, stir fry, and fried eggs, Those are really good. If you keep the coating on it really healthy, then the eggs won't stick and stuff. And then for other stuff like making spaghetti sauce, I like to use the enameled cookware. Let's see. Oh, what do we have? I got some from Germany from a yard sale here, but they went out of business. But there's other ones you can get that are just like metal pots that are enameled. And So those are really good for if you're going to make spaghetti sauce or soups or something that are acidic. Because I have heard that acidic it's not good to make acidic foods in stainless steel either, because it could leach the metals out of the stainless steel into your food. Okay. Oh, God. Somebody's at the door. So about the we were talking about pots, right? I should put a big note on my door, don't knock. So for the spaghetti sauce and anything acidic that you're going to be cooking, I like to do it in the stuff that's got the enamel coating on it, okay? Because that just protects it so you're not going to be leaching any metals or toxins that are in the metals out into your food. Okay, so it's safer. And then with that cookware, it's really important to take really good care of it because it's expensive. And it's kind of delicate in a way. When you heat it up, that pan, you got to heat it up really slowly because it could crack, and you don't want to do that. And so you just heat them up real slow. Don't put like a cold pan onto a really hot surface like my wood stove. I wouldn't put a pan. If I'm going to put it on the wood stove, I'll maybe put it on the gas stove for just really low for a while, and then put it on the wood stove to start cooking with it. You only want to use wooden spoons with them, so you don't want to use metal on those pots that are the enameled pots because you don't want to risk chipping it. And like, if there's something frozen in there, you don't want to chip away at it with a knife, right? Because you don't want to get that knife and chip the enamel. So if you take care of these things, they'll really last a long time. And if you keep your eyes out, you could find really good stuff in thrift stores or on sale places. One time this cooking store went out, online cooking, The Chef it was called. They went out of business a couple years ago, and they were selling stuff super cheap. So I got some stuff there. It was like 80% off or something. But it's pretty expensive if you buy it new, so it's good to look for it used if you can, or yard sales are good. But just make sure they're not cracked, those enameled pots. You just want to make sure there's no pits in it or big cracks or anything. So, and then the other really great stuff to bake with if you're making, like I just made a roast last night with a clay pot in the oven. And those things are, man, they make the food taste so good. I think there's a German company called Ramonatoff or something. And, again, they're kind of spendy if you buy them new, but I found 2 brand new ones at a yard sale for $5 a piece. And I looked online, they were like $130 for the big one and I don't know, $90 for the small one. So, and I keep my eyes out for them, and I'll buy them and bring them to the office, and then I just, let people have them for what I buy them for, or give them away for gifts and stuff. So, and again, it has the directions on how to use those. So you have to soak the clay pots before you cook in them, and you put it in a cold oven so it doesn't crack it. You put it in a cold oven, turn it on, and then let it do its thing. But that, boy, I have a friend who makes her bone broth in one of those things, and I imagine it's really yummy. And crock pots are good, They even have a clay crock pot called Vita Clay, but they're kind of like, they only go pretty high. They don't cook super low, those ones. But they're fun to have too. Okay, so that's the gadgets and appliance and cookware. And then, let's see. So, I know what I wanted to say about the EMFs too. A really good thing for EMF protection and for if you have been exposed a lot and you want to try to detox yourself from that is rosemary essential oil. You could just have it, even rosemary sprigs. If you have a plant of rosemary, you can get the rosemary branches and put them in water, or just dip them in some water and sort of sprinkle it around your house and around you. So in Mexico, they do this thing where they have the curanderas, they're called. They're the healers, and they use a combination of smoke and water to heal people and heal themselves and their houses of entities and just weird energies or something that you feel like might be going on in your house. But I'll probably talk a little bit more about that later in protecting your home. But the rosemary, when you buy stuff from a thrift store, and I got this from a Cherokee elder, she told us about this, that if you get rosemary essential oil and you put it in the water that you're washing with. So you always want to wash anything that comes from a thrift store, right? Put that rosemary, just a few drops in your dishwater, and it will clear away energy, like whoever owned that before. It just kind of clears their energy, off of the stuff that you're bringing into your home. And so we also use it for when we're doing spiritual stuff, like we're getting ready for an elders gathering or something. We'll wash everything down with rosemary water, and it just really cleanses stuff. And you can really feel a difference, too, in the home. If you put that in a spray bottle and you just kind of spritz things down and wipe things down with it, it makes a huge difference. It's just kind of like smudging your house, but with oil and water, right? So for cleaning supplies then, that's pretty simple. You can just get rid of all your products. So they say that the main cause of underwater here's another thing, humans did it, groundwater pollution is from cleaning supplies in the home. Well, probably office and home, right? But if you look at the store, you walk into the stores and walk through those aisles, it's so sad. Like you really think about where is all that stuff going? It's going right into our water. All those aisles and aisles of every single store has so much of those cleaning supplies that are so toxic. And I can't go into places that have used harsh cleaning, chemicals and stuff. It makes me sick to my stomach. I think I told you guys I grew up in a place where there was a lot of there was chemical refineries and oil refineries, and so I heard that if you get saturated with petroleum products at any point in your life, you just get to the point where you can't tolerate anymore. And so a lot of those products are actually made with a lot of petroleum, different, products in the cleaning products, and then shampoos and conditioners and stuff for your face and your lotions. I mean, they are just so chock full of chemicals. And, if you listen to Stone's last talk, that was pretty disgusting, to think about, using human body parts or fetal matter in body products. It's just a good, really another impetus to stop using all that crap on your hair and you don't need it. I stopped using, I went onto the GAPS diet for 2 years once. I think I talked to you about. I think next time we're going to focus on the GAPS diet. I'm going to focus on autism, and we'll talk more specifically about stuff. But I stopped using pretty much everything, any kind of body products, and I only put on my skin stuff that I could eat. So for shampoo, I use an egg yolk. Just a raw egg yolk, and you want to be using tepid water, right? You don't want to cook that egg yolk on your head. It's a real bummer. I actually kind of did one day. The water was a little too hot when I was rinsing it out, and there was little pieces of cooked egg I was pulling out for the day. Just when you're rinsing it out, you put your head over and rinse it out, with lukewarm water. And that works so amazingly well. It's my hair. I think I told you once I tried using shampoo and conditioner, and I always bought really good stuff, right? My hair looked like a Brillo pad. I don't know if you know over in Europe what those are. They're like steel wool kind of. For 2 weeks, it took me to get my hair to look kind of normal. But that egg yolk is just really nourishing, and it's clean, and it takes all the gunk out of your hair. It's great. I don't have to wash my hair very often. And then sometimes if we're low on eggs, I'll use apple cider vinegar. So you just put a little bit in a glass of water and use that and kind of pretend like you're shampooing your head, and that works really, really good too. And it makes your hair super soft, the apple cider vinegar. So you just want to put like maybe an eighth of a cup to a half a cup of water or something for your hair. You can also bathe in it. It's really good. Taking baths with Epsom salts, like alternating Epsom salts and apple cider vinegar and sea salt. Or you can do also seaweed. It's really good to do a bath with. Just put in a little bag, a little muslin bag or something to make a tea out of your bath. So that seaweed will pull radiation out. So if you're worried about the EMFs and stuff, you can do a seaweed bath. And then just using like coconut oil and olive oil and different kinds of oils that are totally edible on your body. So that's going to make a huge difference because your body really does take in a lot of stuff through the skin. And you want to just, avoid doing that. If we're trying to detox, we should just live a detoxifying lifestyle. Because then you won't have to go through these really heavy-duty, like, purges every once in a while because you're so toxic. Just make it part of your lifestyle to be using non-toxic products in the home and on your body. Deodorants, too. If you're eating right and you're getting lots of probiotic foods and you're not eating a lot of crap, you're not going to smell so bad. So that's a big deal too, because I know a lot of people worry about that. But if you do need something, they actually have some products that are pretty clean. I think Welita's pretty clean. They have some stuff like the lime, but some people use the salt, like those salt with the Himalayan salt rubs. You can rub that on. Then I heard also, for people who have problems with alcohol, if they're alcoholics or, you just drink a lot, and that will come through your skin really bad, right? And so you want to, what I heard about what they do in India is that they get slices of limes and slices of lemons. And this actually helps with the craving for alcohol too. So if you wanted to cut down, this might be something you could do. And it does help with the deodorizing too. But so you take a slice of lime and you put it under one armpit and you close the arm down. And then you take a slice of lemon and you put it under the other armpit and, close your arm on it and just leave them there for, 5 minutes or something. And then you get another slice and you switch it up. You put the lime under the one and the lemon under the other, and for another 5 minutes. And it's supposed to really help detoxify those glands there and make you smell better, and also helps with the cravings. So whenever you're detoxifying from something that you're addicted to, the body receptors react by not, freaking out so bad, because you're pulling the toxins out that they're addicted to. So they're not going to be like screaming at you to get more, right? That's how it works when you're trying to quit stuff. If you detox, it just helps that process to, be easier for you to do that. And I just, really reiterate to eat well and to detox slowly. So the GAPS diet is a really great way. It's actually a natural chelator. So it chelates toxic metals and parasites and, different kinds of toxins that are lodged in your body, your blood, your brain. Different people hold on to toxins in different ways. So some people have it coming out of their skin. Some people have, parasites or IBS or, gut problems. Other people, might have like MS. I actually got diagnosed with MS a long time ago. I don't go to doctors, but there was this medical intuitive who lived near me, and I did a trade with her, and she said, God, this is so weird. I've never, ever had this happen to me, where you walked into the room and I feel like you look like you'd be like one of the healthiest people that's ever walked into my room. But when I go and look into what's going on inside of you, it's like this huge red flag. She goes, yeah, you have MS. And I was like shocked, but I knew it was right, because at the time I was going through a lot of stress, and I was just getting pissed off at everything. My son was like poor thing, he was, I don't know, a teenager, but he was, that's hard enough in itself. But we moved and started a business and all this stuff. And I knew it was right because in Chinese medicine, MS is about the heart and the liver. And so the liver is about stress. It could be if it's out of balance. And then the heart is anxiety, right, if it's out of balance. And I knew that those two things were really out of balance for me. So I was so grateful to her that she caught that. And she said, I know you know what to do and it's not going to progress. So that was nice for her to say that too. So I could put that into the trajectory of that disease for myself, right? So you always want to be looking at your thoughts too, where the trajectory of your thoughts and your beliefs is going. Because whatever you're thinking, like, oh my God, I got MS, I'm going to be in a wheelchair in a year, or, I'm going to have to be wearing diapers or something. If you start freaking out in that direction, that's probably the direction you're going to be going. So, she was a really good practitioner where she just said, bam, she set me on that other trajectory with my thoughts. So, but I knew she was right. I just felt like from what I knew in Chinese medicine, and I was really, that was when I just graduated from the acupuncture school. Yep. Things to avoid in body products is soy and parabens and anything that you can't pronounce. Let's see what else. Oh, strong scents too. Like anything that's scented with, just, you can tell if it's not natural, right? It's got this like, ugh, smell to it. And then the other thing that, this kind of came up on me by surprise. I had this patient who wasn't getting better. He had really bad allergies and it just wouldn't go away. He'd get better and he'd get worse and better and worse. I was going back and forth and back and forth. And finally I was like, well, I was asking, I never went to his house, but I would have picked up on it if I was there for sure. Scented candles. So, and also paraben. The candles are made out of paraben. Is that what it is? Paraffin. But I think it is paraben too. It's like toxic. It's petroleum, oil made from petroleum to burn to make candles. So that stuff lit and burning is really bad for you. You're breathing it in down into your lungs. It's going onto your skin, right? So just, get rid of any candles that you think aren't really pure. So I like to use the either the beeswax ones. Those are nice. And then there's another kind like coconut oil, I think they're making them out of, and tallow. So now there's these, if anybody's looking for little cottage industries to do, there's someone here that's making skin, like lip balm and body lotion out of tallow, which is an animal fat. It's, grease from the animals. And it doesn't smell bad. It's really clean. It's real clear. And when it goes on, it sinks into your skin really well because we are animals. And that animal fat actually works way better than vegetable oils. Like even if you're using good vegetable oils like coconut or olive oil, they just don't really seem to do it. But if you're ever making like hamburger and you get that grease on your hands, it takes a while for people to get used to this. But, I just tell them, like, just rub that stuff. You wash the meat particles off and just rub the grease into your hands and your arms. If you have like dry elbows or knees, it works so much better, you guys, really. So tallow, cottage industries making stuff with tallow. You can make candles out of them. You could make, lip balms, facial stuff, hand cream stuff. It works really good for like eczema and psoriasis, really. And then you could add some herbs in it depending on what exactly, if it's dry or wet or stuff like that. But I actually bought some of the lip balm of the tallow. I was so excited. And it works really good. So, and then you always want to, scent it with just essential oils. And if you could get organic make sure that they're not using, what is that, hexane. It's a solvent to pull the smells out of the plants. So if you want to make sure that whatever essential oils you're using, it's from a company that doesn't use hexane, right? And then also incense, right? You want to make sure, oh God, I had this friend who was coming from Mexico, and I was like, oh, bring me some copal, because they have these really cool sticks of copal. It's a resin. It's kind of like frankincense or myrrh, and it burns, and it's so beautiful. It smells really, really good. And it's all natural. It just comes from a tree. You could pick it off the trees, and bring it home and light it. But so they make these sticks with copal on them, and they're just really nice. So I had this friend, and she was coming, and I was like, oh, bring me some copal sticks, And she brought me this incense that was like, fake copal smell. It was so disgusting. I was like, throw it away. I'm not even giving it away. It was so, I felt bad. I mean, of course, we received it and everything, but it was terrible. And, if you have any kind of sensitivities, or even if you don't, you just make sure whatever incense you're burning is really, really clean, okay? So we detoxify by eliminating first all the stuff that we're, doing to ourselves every day, like the creams and the lotions and the blah, 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 and, all that stuff. You're going to save a lot of money without buying all that stuff. And just think of all those bottles that aren't going to be in the ocean because you're not buying shampoo. Go onto the internet and watch some of those videos, and that'll inspire you to want to not, create more bottles in the ocean. I mean, I think about it. It's been probably 4 years now or something that I haven't used shampoo. And, my hair looks pretty okay. Actually, yeah, it looks fine. And people comment on it. It gets kind of frizzy when it's going to rain, but right today they've dried up all the moisture. 3 days ago, my hair, it was like African, kind of frizzing out because it was going to rain, but they came in with those stupid chemtrails, and now it's real hot and dry, so my hair's super straight. But anyway, I don't use any of that stuff anymore. I never really used a lot, but I was so happy to not be using it. Buying all that stuff in bottles. So, yeah. So I'm looking at protecting your home. So we're doing the detoxing your home. So if you're detoxing your home from like bad energy, not just EMF, but people's energies or, people's thoughts affect us. So, and our thoughts about other people or our, things that happen out in the world, we come home and it's like, bam, it's like fills the house. And so a really easy way to clear that stuff up so your house feels cleaner and just clearer is to smudge. And we've talked about that before, where what we use here in America, in the Native American world, is we use sage. Or we use cedar, or like in the Indians here, they'll use a root. It's a wild celery root that they dry out for a whole year, and then we burn it. It's really nice. So I don't know. I've never tried it with regular celery root. That'd be interesting. Dry it for a full year because they let it go through a whole year, all the seasons to dry. And then it picks up the energetics of the whole year. And then when you burn it, it's like, wow, it's really powerful. But you could use, we use sweetgrass here too from the plains. And then the Indians here too, they'll use, on an open fire, we'll use green stuff because that makes it more smoky. And that's kind of cool. Our grandpa used to say, that when you do that on a fire, when you're having a spirit fire outside and you put the green cedar, and we'll put pine boughs and cedar, pine, and fir, and that, he says, it brings the prayers worlds wide. It goes all the way around the world. So you send in your prayers out like that. And so when you're burning this stuff, it's dry, right? You can dry some cedar. And I think like thuja in Europe, I've heard of people using the thuja, what is that? Oh, I forget. Oh, thuja. It's there's another name for it that's more common, I think, but it's kind of like a cedar. It's an evergreen, and you could dry that and use it too to smudge. So it just cleanses out the area. And the copal that I have, the frankincense and myrrh, if you have some of that, that you light it and walk around your house and just sort of open up a window so that the energies that aren't supposed to be there can leave and be cleansed by Mother Nature. And it really does. It makes your house feel so good when you do that, and the house really likes it. So, and I know you guys know a lot about shungite, right? Because I used to talk about that on the Wolf Spirit Radio a lot, but I'll just talk a little bit about shungite. I totally believe in shungite. I had my EMF reader once, and I was in my office. I think I talked about this once, but anyhow, yeah, I was going around. There was 2 new neighbors, and I knew they had Wi-Fi, and I was trying to find the hot spots in my office, see if my treatment rooms were going to be okay still. And I had some shungite on me, which I try to always have on me, and I had the meter in my hand, and the phone rang, and I went to answer the phone, and I sat down and I pulled the meter into my lap. And it was going off the hook because they pick up all the extra EMFs in the room, in the office. And when I pulled it down near my body, it went down. So it got into that field of, I don't know, where the the shungite was, and the levels went down. I haven't really gone and done studies with that, but I just know that it makes me feel better when I have it on me and I'm around stuff. The orgonite, I did that interview, so if you're interested, I know he has kind of a hard accent to listen to with the German accent, but he had so much information about orgonite. And that stuff, when they put the Wi-Fi, the smart meters in our neighborhood, we opted out, but our neighbor didn't. And I put this orgonite that had a lot of shungite in it in the room that was closest to their smart meter in our house. And I was waking up dizzy and stuff and with headaches. And that piece of orgonite with all that shungite in there totally changed the energy. And I can be in that room now and not get dizzy. But before, when I just walked in there, I was getting dizzy. So, and I didn't even put two together for a few days. It was like, oh yeah, it's probably that, smart meter. So, doing stuff like that in my car, I got that real rough shungite, and I just dumped little piles into the little side pockets that it's in the car. And then I've got some in the ashtray. We don't use the ashtray. But, so, it's just all over my car. So, because, everybody that gets in it has a smart meter. And then, I'm always telling people to put it on, airplane mode. But, it gets boring, like being the paranoid one in the crowd, I guess. That's what they think. But really, I'm just being smart. So, I think the more that people just say what they want and say, like if people walk into your house and they've got smart meters, just ask them to turn it on airplane mode. Because if 5 people come to your house and they all have smartphones or whatever they are, iPhones, that's going to shoot the EMF levels like way high in your house. So everybody's getting like toxed, and then they start calling people, and it's getting even more. And you can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, but it's there. So yeah, just asking people. I've got a little sign in my office, and I ask people to either leave them in their cars or, turn them on airplane mode. Yeah, so EMF clothing too. Wow. So some people think that stuff doesn't work. The guy Lloyd Burrell doesn't believe in it. But then what was that guy? The Dietrich, right? Friedrich Dietrich, I think his name is. The German scientist. It's all about EMFs. He does believe in it, and he's had people who have had MS or really debilitating diseases, advanced situations. And he has them cloak themselves in the EMF clothing, the protective clothing that's, I forget the name of the cloth it's made out of, but there's companies out there, and I think, for me, I probably would go with, I always like to go with the smallest kind of companies, because somehow I just trust that they're not going to be, doing anything weird. Or if you know the people or something, or get a reference. It's just really hard to even think about buying stuff online anymore because so much hoaxing going on. So, and if I did have some kind of advanced disease, I probably would invest in at least one of those canopies. They have the canopy. The cloth is actually made out of metal. It's a metallic cloth that will block out the EMF. But they have these like netting that goes over. It's kind of like those mosquito nettings that people have in the tropics, where it comes down over your bed and it goes all the way under your bed, so it makes like a big pocket. And I think if I had something really serious going on, I would probably invest in one of those. And I have recommended that people do that, but I don't know if anybody has that I know. And then the lighting. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about the lights. So yeah, the guy who does the talks about, the 5G, he talks a lot about LED lights and how, they just are not compatible with life. They're lethal to life, he says. What did he say? In Barcelona, they had the LED lights for 2 years. No, 3 years. And that breast cancer and prostate cancer rose two times, twice the amount of breast cancer and prostate cancer in 3 years. So they just switched out the lights in the town that I work in with LED lights like about 2 months ago, and I got the yellow glasses. Those are really helping for driving home because my eyes were feeling like they were fried. That helps. And then the red ones for home. You don't want to use the red ones on the road because it makes you tired and you can't see very good too. But those ones are good for if you're on the computer at nighttime to protect your eyes, right? And also it helps with melatonin, because the lights will affect your melatonin production, and that could cause, lead to cancer or be helpful in going that direction. So I don't normally advise people to take melatonin, because I just know so many people that they tried it and it didn't work, and I actually tried it and I don't think it really worked. But some people it works for. But I think that, just the first line of defense is just, keep it out of your system. Keep it out of your environment. So hard because look at all this energy that it's taking to freaking protect ourselves against this stuff. It's crazy. We could have been doing other stuff, but so yeah, and then that GAPS diet, the broth and the good salt, and get away from those bad oils. No vegetable oils, right? Fermented foods. I went to a dinner last night and I brought a jar of sauerkraut and everybody loved it, so that was cool. Yeah, try to drink that fermented food eat the fermented foods, some fermented food every single day to help your probiotics be strong in your gut. So, because that's one of the first lines of defense is your gut, right? They say that there's like 90% of the biological, 90% of the living cells in your body are in your gut. 90%. Like that's the gut lining. So it's not even you. I mean, who you think you are. It's like there's all these beings that are living in you, and they get killed by these toxins and the stuff we're putting on our face and the stuff that we're breathing in, the stuff we're eating, and so by keeping that gut healthy with lots of bone broth and lots of fermented foods, go slow, right, with the fermented foods. But we'll talk more specifically about stuff next time with the GAPS diet, because I'm going to focus on autism next time. So if you know anybody with children that are autistic, maybe you want to invite them to come onto the show next time. Should be pretty good. And let's see. Are we okay to keep going, Gaz and Vanessa? I guess so, right? I'm going to just talk a little bit about the garden, since I like to do that. So, I've been sowing some seeds now, and I'm using that calendar that we talked about last time, the Stella Natura. It's a biodynamic calendar that gives you ideas of when's good days, and based on the celestial, like where the planets are and the influences of the planets and the stars up there, the constellations. So I chose some days that were root days to sow some onion seeds, because I just love growing onions. They're so easy to grow, and using this calendar, I try to plant and transplant and fertilize, and if I can, even water on the days that are root days. So say for these onions. And I am having a lot better luck at storing them. The last couple of years, it's been amazing, because it used to be where I would grow the onions, and then like in a month they'd all be wet. They just got kind of soggy and weird looking, and I had to throw a bunch out. But using that calendar, the Stella Natura calendar, it's a planting calendar. The storage has been amazing. So I might have thrown one away last year, but I don't think so. I think last year was like amazing. It was so good. So I encourage you guys, if you like to grow stuff, check out that calendar. You can look online. I'm sure you can buy it anywhere. You have to just read the whole thing, because it'll tell you how to use it. It's designed for, I think, for East Coast U.S. time, for New York. So Vanessa, it'll work for you. So what I do is I go in with a pen, and just cross out the time, and because you'll see how it's set up, and put, like, for noon, I put 9 o'clock, 9 a.m., and then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and so then I could tell what time, because they have it all blocked out in time, so you can see, like, from 2 to 6 is a root time or a leaf time, and you can go plant your lettuce seeds. And I just, the seeds come up better. The lettuce is stronger. It doesn't get all weird when you pick it and leave it in your fridge or something. I really think there's something to that. So it's a really good way. I think that, as we learn how to grow our food better, 'cause it's so important. If the system falls and we don't know how to grow food, I mean, that's wouldn't be fun. So, but let's change that trajectory. Let's change that thought to, it is so fun to be out there in the garden and having good luck and have things grow good. It's very, very gratifying, and it actually tastes better too. And I bet it's probably more nutritious. So let's see. I think, I know, on the photos, last time I had stuck a photo on there of we were whitewashing the fruit trees. And I wanted to tell you guys about that. So here with I think part of the agenda, what they're doing with the chemtrails here, is they're trying to mess up the planting cycles and the fruits, the trees budding and stuff. Because we have really late freezes here. We can get a hard freeze up into June, like June 6th one year we got a hard freeze, and like most people's apples died. So, but I really think that's they're messing with that with the chemtrails too, because seems like they spray stuff that keeps the cloud cover away, and so it gets really hot in the daytime, and then at nighttime it freezes really hard. So because when you don't have that cloud cover, then it just gets colder, right? And so I think that's one of the things that they're trying to do. So just be careful with that. So what I have done that I think helps, and if any of those jerks are listening, I'm going to just like right now command that you can't understand what I'm saying. Yeah, they just need to get the hell out of here, pack your shit up and leave. Anyhow, so what I do is, we whitewash the tree trunks. So if you want to go into those photos and find that photo, you'll just see a little tree, and but that's not with latex paint, right? That is with lime, with the agricultural lime, Lame. So you just make what you do to make it stick on there. That was the first coat I think that we were putting on in that photo, so it's really thin. Um, so yeah, you start with a real thin coat. Um, you mix the lime, the powder, it's white powder, in with water, and then you put a little bit of non-fat yogurt in it. And that, I think that just helps to, I don't know what it does really. Elmar, my husband, told me about it, but I can't remember why you do that. But you put the non-fat yogurt, because if you put full fat or low fat, that fat will mold because it's got more proteins in it or something. So the non-fat, it's got whatever it is in the yogurt that's good for this process. So maybe some scientist in the group can tell me why we're doing this. So anyhow, so you mix a little bit of that, and it's only like a tablespoon or something into a bucket of, like a liter of the solution. And you mix it up good, and you put that on a really thin layer. And you let it dry, and you can put another thin layer, and then just kind of thicken it up little by little, put another layer on with the lime. I don't think you need to put more of the yogurt, or you could put a tiny bit more, maybe 2 or 3 stages down, put some more of the non-fat yogurt. But, and so you just thicken it up and keep making layers on it, and then pretty soon it turns into like a whitewash onto the trunks, or the trunks of the trees. So what that does is it slows the budding process down. So the trees won't bud out too fast. So that can help protect the fruit that you're trying to save from those stupid chem jerks. And then the other thing I've done too is to put buckets of water around the trees, or fill a wheelbarrow up and stick it under a tree, just to keep the water, the moisture around the trees, and hopefully, keeps a little warmth and stuff, so it protects from that freezing that could happen. So anybody that's noticed that their fruit trees are freezing or budding too early, it could be from just making it be too hot in the daytime, and or it could be happening naturally too. But if it gets too hot in the day and then it gets freezing at night, so it's really dangerous for the little trees. I think as they get older, they get stronger. But yeah. And then this time of year, we do. Well, a little bit earlier we did this. So you can propagate things like berry bushes and quince. We have a quince tree in our yard here, and so quinces are really good to have in your yard. If you know anybody that has a fruiting quince, it is an original tree. Most fruit trees are hybrid, and they're just not that strong. But this quince tree is like so strong, and it puts out lots of fruits that you have to cook, but it's really nutritious. So what we did was we pulled some of the suckers out, and just the shoots that are coming up, because it is a bush. People like to make it into a tree, but so you just kind of gently pull out tease out some of the sticks that are coming out right near the ground, and try to get a little bit of the root in it. And then you just put it in water. So we pulled out like 10 of them or something, and just put them in a bucket, and you find some willow. They have this stuff called Rootone, which is kind of expensive. Maybe you could buy that and dump that in there, but basically it's just willow. I think it's just ground up willow and some solution. So you could just get willow branches and either chop them up or just stick some in there like that. And that helps the roots to grow faster and stronger, because willows really, how their roots grow really fast and strong. Sometimes we make a sweat lodge. We use the willow sticks, and you put them in the ground, and if that sweat lodge stays up too long, they start growing. They're so easy to propagate, willows are. So they help when you put it into the water with the other, either the berries, so you can do the same thing with the berries. And I think berries you can just pretty much clip off. You don't even have to get the roots out. So we are trying to do that with some gooseberries that we have. Those things, Those are black currants that we have. They are so good for you, and they're really good for your eyes. So anybody with eye problems, you should be growing. They grow so easily. Is any kind of berries, like blueberries, if you're in the east, northeast or something, and then the gooseberries and lychee berries. We bought lychee berries, and so we're going to propagate those too. Try to get them into the community garden. So, the more you can kind of even just do some guerrilla gardening around where you're, so easy to pull these things out and make starts. So we're going to just go and put like a few plants in the community garden and then find somebody who wants them in the neighborhood just to start getting these things going more to have for the future. Start planting stuff. If people are watering things, they might as well be watering stuff that's going to grow food, right? So just another layer of activities to think about. And so let's see. I don't know if I guess there's no questions in the chat room there. Hey. The quinces, they're talking about quinces in the chat room there. Quinces are so delicious, but you have to cook them because they're really tart. And I usually cook them first, and then if you want to put honey in it, don't put it in while you're cooking it. Put it in afterwards, because you want to cook the honey. It's not good to cook because it creates, I don't know, in Ayurvedic medicine they know more about this, where if you cook honey, it turns into some kind of tar or something that gets into your gut, and it really clogs things up. So it's not really good to do. So I'll even just do it with some organic sugar or something, or that sucanat stuff or whatever. Don't use agave. Agave is not a natural food. Okay, it's an industrial food. It's made from the agave plant, but it's not natural. And Mexicans just really are adamant it's really bad for you. And now the sort of alternative food people are starting to see that too. So it became a kind of a fad for a while, the agave, but it's not really that good. In fact, it could be bad. So it says, here's a question: can onions be placed under the armpits to detox the body? Same as you described lemon and lime. Wow. Well, I don't think I'd use that for deodorant purposes, but I don't know. I've never, I don't know. I know that I think it was Stone who was talking about putting it under your, in your shoe, under your feet. But I've never heard of that. You could try it, guys, and see see how it works. Let us know, okay? Do it right before one of your shows. See how you clear the dance floor. Yeah. So let's see. Okay, guys. Well, it looks like I'm probably done with my stuff. So thanks again to Gaz and to Vanessa. You guys are awesome. Let's see. Here's another one. If you put onions on the soles of your feet, it detoxifies, gets rid of colds and flus. Yeah, I definitely have heard that. I haven't tried it, but it'd be, fun to try. I like to try stuff. Told you about the time I had that green plantain that I had chewed up all over my face. Someone came to the door. So, I'm into trying stuff as long as it's not toxic, it's just so sad. You see, I see people all day telling me stories about what they go to doctors and they let them do all this crazy shit to them, man. It's like insane. And so I just want to really, that first part that we talked about is to believe in our thoughts, to believe in the natural intelligence and of our inclinations and our intuition, our gut feelings, is to, we need to put more and more weight in that arena every single day. So we start to follow our gut, because our guts will tell us so clearly if we should go back to that doctor or that place where they want to, I've heard stories, people let them bore holes through their head and pour chemotherapy down into their spine. I mean, that was an experimental thing. I mean, it's just so sad. It is so sad. I have to leave the room sometimes and kind of compose myself and then come back in and go, okay, let's keep talking. So just, if you're relatively healthy and happy, that'd be good. Doing these things where you're going to be like protecting yourself before you get super sick, so just all these things we talked about today, to start to, just weed that stuff out of your life. And it's going to make a huge difference because we got a lot that we're dealing with in the environment and, in the news. So you want to also detoxify your thoughts by, moderating the amount of, horrible stuff you're thinking about. And, I told you about my 94-year-old doctor who told me, I have to stop thinking so much. So my heart stops racing. I have a racing heart, so I did. And sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night a lot and get inspirations and I get ideas, and I got to remember to put a notepad next to the bed because otherwise I just sit up and think about it or follow it, and I have to, keep reminding myself, stop thinking, so I can rest, And so resting is such a detoxifier too. Make sure you don't get dragged out, especially if you get sick. Make sure you're getting enough rest and staying warm, right? I just had someone the other day, it was freaking freezing cold outside. She walks in with no socks on and no jacket, no sweater. Like, really? Happens every week. So stay warm, drink kombucha, make your own kombucha. That stuff's really great. We talked about that before. So yeah, I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much. And that was fun. And I wish you a really healthy and delicious evening and afternoon. Have fun in the kitchen. So thanks, guys. Guess we'll be signing out here. Good night, everyone.